Article 110 Requirements for Electrical Installations. Part I, General 1101 Scope. This article covers general requirements for the examination and approval, installation and use, access to and spaces about electrical conductors and equipment, enclosures intended for personnel entry, and tunnel installations. Informational note. See Informative Annex J for information regarding ADA accessibility design. 110.2 Approval. The conductors and equipment required or permitted by this code shall be acceptable only if approved. Informational note. See 90.7 Examination of equipment for safety, and 110.3 Examination, identification, installation, and use of equipment. See definitions of approved, identified, labeled, and listed. 110.3 Examination, identification, installation, use, and list ING product certification of equipment. The examination. In judging equipment, considerations such as the following shall be evaluated. 1. Suitability for installation and use in conformity with the provisions of this code. Informational note number 2. Suitability of equipment use may be identified by a description marked on or provided with a produce CT to identify the suitability of the product for a specific purpose, environment, or application. Special conditions of use or other limitations and other pertinent information may be marked on the equipment, included in the product instructions, or included in the appropriate listing and labeling information. Suitability of equipment may be evidenced by listing or labeling to the mechanical strength and durability, including for parts designed to enclose and protect other equipment, the adequacy of the protection thus provided, 3. Wire bending and connection space for electrical insulation, 5. Heating effects under normal conditions of use and or under abnormal conditions likely to arise in service, 6. Arcing effects, 7. Classification by type, size, voltage, current capacity, and specific use, 8. Other factors that contribute to the practical safeguard ING of persons using or likely to come in contact with the equipment, B. Installation and use. Listed or labeled equipment shall be installed and used in accordance with any instructions included in the listing or labeling. NC listing, product testing, evaluation, and listing product certification shall be performed by recognized qualified electrical testing laboratories and shall be in accordance with applicable product standards recognized as achieving equivalent and effective safety for equipment installed to comply with this code. Informational note. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration (OSHA) recognizes qualified electrical testing laboratories that perform evaluations, testing, and certification of certain products to ensure that they meet the requirements of both the construction and general industry OSHA electrical standards. If the listing product certification is done under a qualified electrical testing laboratory program, this listing mark signifies that the tested and certified product complies with the requirements of one or more appropriate product safety test standards. 110 point for voltages. Throughout this code, the voltage considered shall be that at which the circuit operates. The voltage rating of electrical equipment shall not be less than the nominal voltage of a circuit to which it is connected. 110.5 Conductors. Conductors normally used to carry current shall be of copper or aluminum, unless otherwise provided in this code, where the conductor material is not specified. The sizes given in this code shall apply to copper conductors. Where other materials are used, the size shall be changed accordingly. Informational note. For copper-clad aluminum conductors, see 310.15.110.6 Conductor sizes. Conductor sizes are expressed in American wire gauge AWG or in circular mills. 110.7 Wiring integrity. Completed wiring installations shall be free from short circuits, ground faults, or any connections to ground other than as required or permitted elsewhere in this code. 1108 Wiring methods. Only wiring methods recognized as suitable are included in this code. The recognized methods of wiring shall be permitted to be installed in any type of building or occupancy, except as otherwise provided in this code. 110.9 Interrupting rating. Equipment intended to interrupt current at fault levels shall have an interrupting rating at nominal circuit voltage at least equal to the current that is available at the line terminals of the equipment. Equipment intended to interrupt current at other than fault levels shall have an interrupting rating at nominal circuit voltage at least equal to the current that must be interrupted. 110 Circuit impedance, short circuit current ratings, and other characteristics. The overcurrent protective devices. the total impedance, the equipment short circuit current ratings, and other characteristics of the circuit to be protected shall be selected and coordinated to permit the circuit protective devices used to clear a fault to do so without extensive damage to the electrical equipment of the circuit. This fault shall be assumed to be either between two or more of the circuit conductors, or between any circuit conductor, and the equipment grounding conductor as permitted in 250.118. Listed equipment applied in accordance with their listing shall be considered to meet the requirements of this section. 110.11 Deteriorating agents. Unless identified for use in the operating environment, no conductors or equipment shall be located in damp or wet locations where exposed to gases, fumes, vapors, liquids, or other agents that have a deteriorating effect on the conductors or equipment, or where exposed to excessive temperatures. Informational note number 1. See 300.6 for protection against corrosion. Informational note number 2. Some cleaning and lubricating compounds can cause severe deterioration of many plastic materials used for insulating and structural applications in equipment. Equipment not identified for outdoor use and equipment identified only for indoor use, such as dry locations, indoor use only, damp locations, or enclosure types 1, 2, 5, 12, 12,000, and or 13. Shall be protected against damage from the weather during construction. Informational note number 3. See Table 110.8 for appropriate enclosure type designations. 110.1 to mechanical execution of work. Electrical equipment shall be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner. Informational note. Accepted industry practices are described in ANSI or NECA 1-2015, Standard for Good Workmanship in Electrical Construction. Another ANSI approved installation standards are unused openings. Unused openings, other than those intended for the operation of equipment, those intended for mounting purposes, or those permitted as part of the design for listed equipment, shall be closed to afford protection substantially equivalent to the wall of the equipment. Where metallic plugs or plates are used with non-metallic enclosures, they shall be recessed at least 6 mm 1/4 in from the outer surface of the enclosure. The integrity of electrical equipment and connections, internal parts of electrical equipment including busbars, wiring terminals, insulators, and other surfaces, shall not be damaged or contaminated by foreign materials such as paint, plaster, cleaners, abrasives, or corrosive residues. There shall be no damaged parts that may adversely affect safe operation or mechanical strength of the equipment, such as parts that are broken, bent, cut, or deteriorated by corrosion, chemical action, or overheating. 110.13 Mounting and cooling of equipment. A mounting. Electrical equipment shall be firmly secured to the surface on which it is mounted. Wooden plugs driven into holes in masonry, concrete, plaster, or similar materials shall not be used. 7044 National Electrical Code 2017 Editine Informational Note number 4. Minimum flood provisions are provided in NFPA 500020015 Building Construction and Safety Code, the International Building Code IBC, and the International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwellings IRC. B. Cooling. Electrical equipment that depends on the natural circulation of air and convection principles for cooling of exposed surfaces shall be installed so that room airflow over such surfaces is not prevented by walls or by adjacent installed equipment. For equipment designed for floor mounting, clearance between top surfaces and adjacent surfaces shall be provided to dissipate rising warm air. Electrical equipment provided with ventilating openings shall be installed so that walls or other obstructions do not prevent the free circulation of air through the equipment. 110.1 for electrical connections. Because of different characteristics of dissimilar metals, devices such as pressure terminal or pressure splicing connectors and soldering lugs shall be identified for the material of the conductor and shall be properly installed and used. Conductors of dissimilar metals shall not be intermixed in a terminal or splicing connector where physical contact occurs between dissimilar conductors such as copper and aluminum, copper and copper-clad aluminum, or aluminum and copper-clad aluminum, unless the device is identified for the purpose and conditions of use. Materials such as solder, fluxes, inhibitors, and compounds, where employed, shall be suitable for the use and shall be of a type that will not adversely affect the conductors, installation, or equipment. Connectors and terminals for conductors more finely stranded than Class B and Class C stranding as shown in Chapter 9, Table 10, shall be identified for the specific conductor class or classes. Terminals. Connection of conductors to terminal parts shall ensure a thoroughly good connection without damaging the conductors, and shall be made by means of pressure connectors including set screw type, solder lugs, or splices to flexible leads. Connection by means of wire binding screws or studs and nuts that have upturned lugs or the equivalent shall be permitted for 10 AWG or smaller conductors. Terminals for more than one conductor and terminals used to connect aluminum shall be so identified. B-splices. Conductors shall be spliced or joined with splicing devices identified for the use or by brazing, welding, or soldering with a fusible metal or alloy. Soldered splices shall first be spliced or joined so as to be mechanically and electrically secure without solder and then be soldered. All splices and joints and the free ends of conductors shall be covered with an insulation equivalent to that of the conductors or with an identified insulating device. Wire connectors or splicing means installed on conductors for direct burial shall be listed for such use. See temperature limitations. The temperature rating associated with the ampacity of a conductor shall be selected and coordinated so as not to exceed the lowest temperature rating of any connected termination, conductor, or device. Conductors with temperature ratings higher than specified for terminations shall be permitted to be used for ampacity adjustment. Correction for both .AS appropriately modified by 31015B7. Termination provisions of equipment for circuits rated 100 amperes or less, or marked for 14 AWG through 1 AWG conductors, shall be used only for one of the following. 1 conductors rated 60 C14F, 2 conductors with higher temperature ratings, provided the ampacity of such conductors is determined based on the 60 C14F ampacity of the conductor size used. 3 conductors with higher temperature ratings if the equipment is listed and identified for use with such conductors. 4 for motors marked with design letters B, C, or D. Conductors having an insulation rating of 75 C167F or higher shall be permitted to be used, provided the ampacity of such conductors does not exceed the 75 C167F ampacity. B. Termination provisions of equipment for circuits rated over 100 amperes or marked for conductors larger than 1 AWG shall be used only for one of the following. 1 conductors rated 75 C167F to conductors with higher temperature ratings, provided the ampacity of such conductors does not exceed the 75 C167F ampacity of the conductor size used, or up to the ampacity if the equipment is listed and identified for use with such conductors. 2. Separately installed pressure connectors shall be used with conductors at the ampacities not exceeding the ampacity at the listed and identified temperature rating of the connector. Informational note: with respect to 11014 C1 and C2, equipment markings or listing information may additionally restrict the sizing and temperature ratings of connected conductors. De-installation: where a tightening torque is indicated as a numeric value on equipment or in installation instructions provided by the manufacturer, a calibrated torque tool shall be used to achieve the indicated torque value, unless the equipment manufacturer has provided installation instructions for an alternative method of achieving the required torque. 110.15 High leg marking. On a 4-wire, delta-connected system where the midpoint of one phase winding is grounded, only the conductor or busbar having the higher phase voltage to ground shall be durably and permanently marked by an outer finish that is orange in color or by other effective means. Such identification shall be placed at each point on the system where connection is made if the grounded conductor is also present. 110.16 Arc flash hazard warning. A general electrical equipment such as switchboards, switchgear, panel boards, industrial control panels, meter socket enclosures, and motor control centers that is in other than dwelling units and is likely to require examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance while energized shall be field or factory marked to warn qualified persons of potential electric arc flash hazards. The marking shall meet the requirements in 11021B and shall be located so as to be clearly visible to qualified persons before examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance of the equipment. 110.18 Arcing parts. Parts of electrical equipment that in ordinary operation produce arcs, sparks, Flames or molten metal shall be enclosed or separated and isolated from all combustible material. Informational note: for hazardous classified locations, see Articles 500 through 517. For motors, see 430.14.110.19 light and power from railway conductors. Circuits for lighting and power shall not be connected to any system that contains trolley wires with a ground return. Exception: such circuit connections shall be permitted in car houses, power houses, or passenger and freight stations operated in connection with electric railways. End Article 110 Requirements for electrical installations. Part 1.